President Biden is once again extending the pause on student loan payments as his $400 billion student debt handout faces a series of legal setbacks. The White House yesterday announced that it was moving the date back from December 31st to the end of June, or 60 days after there's a court order approval of that student loan program, as they push the Supreme Court to rule on the plan.
My administration has been working to provide student debt relief to millions of working and middle-class families across the country. But Republican special interests and elected officials sued to deny this relief. But I'm completely confident my plan is legal. But right now, it's on hold because of these lawsuits. But it isn't fair to ask tens of millions of borrowers eligible for relief to resume their student debt payments while the courts consider the lawsuit. For that reason, the Secretary of Education is extending the pause on student loan payments while we seek relief from the courts.
So the plan is legal, but the outgoing House Speaker Nancy Pelosi seems to disagree. Carly, take a listen.
People think that the President of the United States has the power for debt forgiveness. He does not. He can postpone, he can delay, but he does not have that power. So that's not even a discussion. Not everybody realizes that.
And the Eighth Circuit agrees with Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah, power of the purse, House of Representatives, Congress. This is going through the legal system, and that's why he's continuing to extend this, because it's likely going to get shot down, per Nancy Pelosi's own words. Keep in mind, as we talk about this, 73% of borrowers, according to CNBC, said that they plan to spend money saved by Biden's student loan forgiveness on travel and dining out, vacations and dinners. And that's because this is not necessary. The unemployment rate among college graduates is 1.9%. That's similar to pre-pandemic levels. And then you have this Federal Reserve study in May that found that borrowers are in a better financial position because of all the stimulus checks. So the president, though, extending this shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody. His immediate initial reaction after the midterm elections was that he isn't going to change any of his policy proposals or plans because there wasn't a red wave. So he's all in on this, even though it's completely unfair to people who didn't go to college or paid off their loans.
It's totally unfair. Kat, it's also likely illegal. The Supreme Court will probably rule in the way the Eighth Circuit did, based on the way the law and the facts are. But Joe Biden, maybe they'll listen to him because he seems to think he already passed this through Congress. But let's flash back to this moment that was bizarre.
What we've provided for is, if you went to school, if you qualify for a Pell Grant, you qualify for you qualify for $20,000 in debt forgiveness. Secondly, if you don't have one of those loans, you just get $10,000 written off. It's passed. I got it passed by a vote or two, and it's in effect.
Never even went to Congress.
Nobody voted. Maybe he had a dream. Yeah. I just want to make it, so clear to anybody that supports this and stand for this. If you want to pay off someone else's student loans, nobody's stopping you from doing that.
Yep.
You are free to pay anyone as much as you want. I think it's so important that we stop calling it cancellation of forgiveness, because that's not what it is. It is forcing people who had nothing to do with the loan to pay for it, which I don't see how it's legal. I really don't. And if he supports it so much, I've not seen Biden offer to pay for even one person's student loans. He totally can do that. That is legal. That is allowed.
And it's the bottom half of the income spectrum paying for the top half, which is totally unjust. But Joe, this pause now to student loans, it was supposed to end in January. The president told us that's it. It's going to end in January. Let's flash back to that other moment that was, again, bizarre in hindsight.
We're full of sound bites.
Student loan payments pause is going to end. It's going to end December 30. I'm extending to December 31st, 2022, and it's going to end at that time. It's time for the payments to resume.
Except now it's June.
I'm a betting man. I have a feeling this will be extended to November of 2024, right? This is just keep being pushed out and pushed out. This was a gambit to buy votes, and guess what? It worked, right? Now, after the fact, whatever happens, it doesn't matter. The midterms are over, and young voters came out more powerfully than people expected, maybe because of this. As a parent, this is very daunting. You both have kids on the way. Wait till you look at what college is going to cost in 2044 or whenever your kids go to school, right? My wife went to Georgetown, for example, right? All in. $80,000. You went to Georgetown. Hoya Saxa. $80,000 all in with tuition and board and everything else like that. That means over 4 years, $320,000. So then before taxes, I have to make $500,000. My wife have to make.
That's an expensive keg party.
Yes.
Very.
That's not Coors Light, and that's not Busch Light, and that's not Natty Light. That's the expensive stuff, right? And that's just one kid. So then if my second kid wants to go, I don't know, to Stanford or Northwestern, then same thing. It is overwhelming here as far as what this costs. So this doesn't address the bigger issue, which is you forgive these student loans now, and half of them went to those who have graduate degrees or masters who can pay this off, doctors and lawyers, and it doesn't address the bigger issue, which is tuition's only going to keep going up and price people out, even at a high income level.
It's true. And you hit a key point, Natalie, that the Wall Street Journal editorial board positing that if, in fact, the Supreme Court takes this and rules against Biden, that will become a proxy or can be an excuse for him to extend this. It's already been 3 years pausing payments, extend it in perpetuity, perhaps till, I don't know, 2024 when he's running again.
Right, and this just kicks the can down the road because at some point someone has to pay this debt, and we are just making it harder and harder for people down the road because things are getting more expensive. To your point, we talk about 7.7% CPI inflation. Well, since 1980, the cost of college tuition has gone up by 169%.
Wow.
Why don't we ever talk about that? We don't talk about that or asset inflation. It's making it harder, and the average person can't afford it. So people graduate and they feel left behind already. And I think there's also something to be said about work ethic. I paid off all of my student loans, and I'm proud of that. I think it's an American value to say I pulled myself up by my bootstraps. I went to bed tired. I took on multiple jobs, but I paid it off because it was no one else's responsibility but mine.
And then you ask, what are the kids learning when they go to college in this woke environment?
Listen to Natalie. She went to Pepperdine.
Yeah.
Coolest university
Smart
ever.
lady. Very smart. Coming up.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.